Okay, all right, so we are doing chametz and matzah. We're not starting with the Mishneh Torah. Oh, I got Mishneh Torah in case anyone wants, but we're starting with the Sefer Mitzvos. Okay, that's not in there. Yeah.
I don't know. It wasn't in this. In the one.
It would not be in any one volume. Sefer Mitzvos. So it's different Sefer. Yeah. No, so let's review that, right? Because the Rambam did write the Sefer HaMitzvos as a hakdama to the Mishneh Torah, but it's not actually part of the Mishneh Torah. Like he wanted to just start writing the Mishneh Torah, but then he said that people are going to get mixed up because he's going to say he's going to write about all the mitzvos, and people are going to disagree about what should count as mitzvah. So that he laid out all of his rules, and then wrote what each mitzvah is. And that's how,
the mini mitzvahs is part of that.
The mini mitzvahs is part of the Hagdama, and the mini mitzvahs follows the order of the Sefer Mitzvos.
Okay.
But it is not the Sefer Mitzvos.
Oh.
Yeah.
Question I asked Rebbe.
Yeah.
Actually, it is for now.
Okay.
It's the Rambam. Remember we brought up the the first cup. Like there's it seems like there's a little bit of a theme in the Sefer Mitzvos. Or the first 8 or so are extremely fundamental. Yeah. So I was doing that with Trackman.
Yeah.
And then I brought the question, I think we talked about last week about
what the order.
What the order, but also what's tefillah doing number 5.
5, yeah, right.
And I asked him, and he's just this was his answer. It's not super satisfying, but he was just nobody knows the order of the Rambam Sefer Mitzvos. That's what he said.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think I mentioned this, but the Kuntras has a shiur on it, and he worked on it for a very long time to try to figure out what the order is, and he has an approach. But no, I don't think anyone can explain the full thing. But yeah. But it's good. Yeah, we should do that. We should do that at some point, not during our Pesach thing. Okay, so let's do the Sefer Mitzvos here, which is not in the Mishneh Torah. Kuf Nun Zayin Aseh. Mitzvah Shava v'Chamishim v'Umea Hatzivui Shnitz Davinu l'Sapir Yetzias Mitzrayim Belel Chamisha Asar b'Nisan B'Tchilas Halayla Kafit Tzachos Lashon HaMasapir. That's the key phrase, right? So the commandment, we've been commanded to tell the story of the Yetzias Mitzrayim on the night of the 15th of Nisan, at the beginning of the night. How do you translate Kafit Tzachos Lashon HaMasapir? Yeah, that's pretty fair. I don't know what Sach literally means. I think it means clear. I don't know though. Sach. I wonder if it's related. I bet Refersh would say it's related, but that doesn't mean anything. I just want to look at the Sach. I always translate this as according to the eloquence of the teller, meaning in your own way. Yeah.
Is the other side of the here? Is that Aramaic?
That's Arabic. Judeo-Arabic. Yeah.
So he wrote it like that, or he wrote it?
Yeah. So another fact to know is Rambam wrote all his works in Judeo-Arabic except the Mishneh Torah, and so everything else had to be translated. And then I think a couple of letters that were written in Hebrew also, but generally speaking, all of them are translated except the Mishneh Torah.
So Mishneh Torah
was in Hebrew.
Meaning, if we found authentic Mishneh Torah, or it's Hebrew.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. What do you mean if we found an authentic Mishneh Torah?
Well, meaning if we found the entirety of a Mishneh Torah, it would be in Hebrew. We wouldn't need to translate it.
We would not need to translate it.
We'd be able to read it right out of the book of
right.
The Rambam's writing it.
Right. I mean, that's what our Mishneh Torahs are.
I mean, they're not perfect though, I thought, or for the most part.
But they're in Hebrew though. It's in Hebrew. Yeah,
and I'd be able to read the same way I can read this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But you realize that the Mishneh Torahs we have are 99% accurate. It's not like the one that the Holy Grail of Mishneh Torahs, the Rambam's handwritten copy.
Right.
It's not like that's a completely different book. It's because all the ones that we have, the Shelat. Just go to the Masorah of the Rambam. Yeah, right. Rambam Bekius. I mean, so the Shelat version uses as many of the copies that were copied from the Rambam's version as possible, his personal copy. But even the Doofus is probably 95% the same as the Rambam's. I was also going to say that. So he wrote that the reason why he wanted to write it in Hebrew is because he wanted it to be for all of Klal Yisrael to paskin out of, and he knew that not everyone can read Judeo-Arabic, and then he said he didn't want to write in Aramaic because that's a very difficult language, even though it's the language of the Gemara. So he wrote it in rabbinic Hebrew, the Lashon HaMishnah. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so it means tzach means clear or pure or white or precise. Okay, so this is an important thing, right? So the mitzvah, the arose, is to tell it according to your own formulation of the story, right? And the problem, so what's the problem in terms of how we do it? We do it with Haggadah, right? So what's the answer? Yeah.
This is Haggadah made so there's enough room left, so that Haggadah is made to leave out enough room so we're forced to use our own language anyway.
Oh, that's actually better than what I was going to say.
I thought it was like a funeral thing. Like, that's how I said, your own.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that for the right.
Okay, so I think you can interpret it that way. I personally find Yosef's answer more compelling, and the Ritva agrees. Okay, so this is a Ritva Bekius. So in this edition of the Ritva, then you should know that he has, after his Chidushim on Pesachim, he has a Hilchos Seder HaHagada and a beer of the Haggadah. So it's really nice to have that. In fact, I used to be in a when I was in a shul that during Pesach, I wanted to do Pesach stuff, so I would just go grab the Haggadah off of the the Ritvas thing. Okay, so he says here about how we do Sippur. Hold on, I gotta find it, unless I have it on my computer. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So he says, yeah. Oh, so check this out. V'chayev adam l'sapir b'layla hazeh l'nashim u'letinokos u'l'chol b'nei hachabura b'inyan Yetzias Mitzrayim. So your person is obligated to tell on this night to the women and the kids and all the people in the chabura about Yetzias Mitzrayim. V'im eno yodea omer manishtana v'seder ha'hagada. And if you don't know, then you say the Manishtana and the Seder HaHagada. So he really holds it's a l'chatchila b'diavad thing, that this is like a backup script. The Haggadah is like a backup script, but really you should be doing your own thing, you know. And so, but I think, Rebbe has a. Oh, hold on just a second here. I'm not gonna look it up. Rebbe says at least I don't know what year. When was 5770? What year was that? 13 years ago. Yeah, so 2010, I guess, was when I think I first heard this from him. So I don't know if things have changed, but he said that really when you're doing your Seder, you should, in addition to doing the Haggadah, have your own Sippur, you know. And so what we do at our family, so at our family, what we do is we announce this at the beginning of the Seder, that we say we're going to go through the Haggadah, but if at any time then someone wants to say their own Sippur, like how they've understood the ideas of Yetzias Mitzrayim that year, or what their unique slant is, then they could do that. I'll just give you an example first. Following after is like when Johnny did his genocide tour and went to Rwanda and then Turkey and Armenia and then Poland and Germany. That really changed his idea of Yetzias Mitzrayim, you know, and he came back and then during our Sippur, I forgot what he said, but it was very influenced by that. Or usually what it means for me is like there will be usually some idea in my learning in Yetzias Mitzrayim that like illuminates the entire thing, and I'll just tell over a version of that idea. So I'm Yote the Kfitakos Lashano. Yeah.
This was another example. I was like, we Paul Mac or like creations like I was like crib one of them that my head more or less, if I know you're doing my own Sippur and the Haggadah, whichever one gets done second will get cribbed because of a time rush or something. So
so you're saying which one should you prioritize?
Yeah, I mean, like in my head, so when Paul's like say prioritizing my Sippur, and that with the assumption, with the basically background knowledge, will probably result in me just rushing through the Haggadah parts. Yeah,
I mean, so I think that definitely the Ritva would say that your Sippur takes priority, right? And you know, and this is also just to note that this is. The Haggadah is not like tefillah, or like tefillah, you don't really have the right to like, you know, cut anything out. But with Haggadah, like if need be, you know, you can't cut out everything. It's like they're definitely essential parts. In fact, I was put in this awkward situation once where it was my first year teaching, and I had a student who was not religious, but by the time we got to Pesach, he had gotten to the point where like he would begrudgingly do like the minimal Haggadah. So he asked me, he said like, what is the bare minimum that I need to do? So I made a Haggadah for him, That was like, the bare minimum. Because like, for example, you need, kosh lo omer shlosh devarim elu b'pesach lo yetzek vasa. You need to be masked b'gnus m'sayim shevach. You need halal. You need the drasha of Rami Obadavi, but like other stuff is more dispensable. Chaim and then Yosef after. Yeah, Yosef Lupin.
Like, I think you made it from like from experience, but I think having shown it, something like that at dinner, you can read the Hayada, and then you're like, oh, I didn't see one. And like, knowing I knew it at my family dinner, like,
Yeah, right. Yeah, it really. Right. And I think that's the intent also. I think so really there are three levels. Okay. There's kafit tzachos lashono, that's the doraisa. Okay. Then there's I don't know anything at all. I'm just going to read the Haggadah. And then you have this whole middle range where you're basically using the Haggadah as a springboard for discussion, which is what we do. I think most of us do. Yeah.
All in the middle, not the same as.
No, it would definitely overlap with the doraisa, but you do have to make sure that you are doing Sippur. For example, there have definitely been years where like our discussion gets all caught up in like, I don't know, like our rabbanim, and like you have to make sure that you're actually like being misapir according to the way he'll define it in a second. So that's why I'm saying it's not like a guarantee. Yeah, Yosef.
Yeah, so I mean, just personally from my experience, what my dad does is like he just for like the kids, like he'll set up some kind of like game or whatever, so that way like he makes it his own style, but he uses the Haggadah just for like the order. But he tells it in a way that integrates like the order of the Haggadah, but tells it in a way that will be more accessible to the people.
That's good. So that's another question, which is, this is talking so far about the mitzvah of just that's each of us is chayav in. Then there's also the element of higar to lebincha, and we say lefi dato shel ben avi malamdo, that you teach according to the das of the kid. And the question is like, let's say you're someone has young kids and they just do the Sippur for the kids. Does he also have to like do an adult level Sippur like for himself, or is he yote the whole mitzvah by telling it to his kids on their level? That's always a question that like I'm never really clear on. But yeah, okay. So let's finish reading the doraisa. So v'chol ma sheyosif b'dibur uvatir hamatav. Now let's get the categories here. He's going to list several topics that are like the main topics of Sippur. The more you increase in speech and in description of a hamatzav hagdalas mash asu banu v'ha'ivu sh'asu. Wait, what happened? Did I omit a page? Sh'asu. That is definitely, that's not the right page. Okay, so let me, I must have just missed the page. Sefer. All right. Description of the bad stuff. Sha'asu lan ha-Mitzrayim. Okay. And it's interesting. He says, "B'dibur uvetiur," in speech and in description of the situation. I don't know. You have to do sign language or something. Yeah, right. The Spartan do that, right? V'heach nifra lanu Hashem mehem, and how God exacted retribution on our behalf from them. V'hoda'a lo yisala al kol hachesed asher gamalnu, and on giving thanks to God for all the chesed He bestowed on us. I thought that there were 4 things. Okay, I guess there's 3. Right, so what the Egyptians did that were bad, and how God took vengeance, and then giving thanks to God, and that's praiseworthy. So this is another thing also that we do in our Seder, is that the whole thing with Hallel at the end is part of the doraisa. Usually Hallel is just a rabbanan. Here Hallel, we did this last year, I think. The Hallel doraisa there's an idea of Hallel doraisa that your Sippur should culminate in Hallel and Hodah, and that really should be kfi tachos lashono also. Ideally. So we also announced at the beginning. Oh no, you have to do the Hallel according to the program, but there should be a spontaneous, like what he's saying here of the Hoda'a lo yisal al kol hachetzer asher gamalnu. That's part of the kfi tachos lashono that you can expand on. So we also announced at the beginning that if anyone, at the beginning of our Seder, if anyone feels like compelled to engage in spontaneous hoda'ah, then you should express it because that's part of the actual mitzvah. And there's definitely moments, I don't know, like, I mean, where like you're involved in the mitzvahs with Delilah and you just feel so grateful to be a Jew, and realize that this wouldn't have happened if it weren't for the Yetzias Mitzrayim. So like you should express that, Okay, v'hakasuv shne'amar lanu. Oh, we really got to get this up here. I'm going to get some version of this up here. I don't know what the deal is with this, but they have on Da'at. Yeah, this is a trove. Yeah. Sefer Mitzvos. Okay, so they have a kafech Sefer Mitzvos, but it must be a different edition because it's not entirely the same lashon all times. Yeah, I don't know. And also, it's weird. You can't. They don't have like a table of contents. You have to scroll and then click continue.
That's terrible.
Yeah, and then
terrible.
it is very terrible. And then what I usually do is oops. I try to shortcut it. All right, let's see. Kuf Nun. Oh, are we gonna get there? Oof. All right, next one. Okay, we are up to All right, so note this. Okay, the pasuk he cites as the source for this is you should tell your son on that day. Uvaha perush, and the explanation of this comes in Torah Peh. You should tell your son Yachol mi Rosh Chodesh. You might think that you start doing this on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, Tamalomar bayom hahu. But the pasuk says you should tell him on that day. I bayom hahu yachol mi ba'od yom. On that day, you might think it is on the daytime of the 14th of Nisan. Tamalomar ba'avur zeh. So the pasuk says, for the sake of this. Lo amarti ela b'shash yesh matzah umar munachim lefnacha. I only talk about this when there is matzah and mar in front of you. So that's at night. Okay. We say that in the Agada, correct? That the context. It's a weird context. About where we say it. Oh, sorry. No, it's only weird according to the Rambam. Yeah, what was that, Yosef?
Wait, when do we say that?
Yeah.
Wait. What are we talking about? What are we talking about?
This whole drasha of Yachol mi Rosh Chodesh.
Oh, well.
So it's after the Arba Banim, okay?
Right.
But for some reason, the Rambam has it. I'll show you. Oh no, we're going slow again. The Rambam has it in his Haggadah. Wait for it. We're going to stop at 2, by the way. I mean, we can do something else, but most people are stopping at 2. All right.
I'm fine continuing after 2.
Oh, you are? Okay. So maybe we won't. I mean, maybe we won't stop to. Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah. Oh, so check this out. So in the Rambam's Haggadah, in terms of his paragraph, he puts this as part of the answer to the Eno Yodea Lishol. Eno Yodea Lishol at Pasach lo shene'amar v'yigarta lebincha b'yom le'mor b'avur zeh asa Hashem li b'tzeis mitzrayim v'yigarta lebincha yachol mi Rosh Chodesh tamulomar b'yom hahu, and it goes through the whole thing. And that's part of the paragraph of responding to Eno Yodea Lishol, which I feel like if I was a little kid and and this was my exposure to it's just a weird thing to tell him, Okay, let's finish this up here. At the beginning of the night, because how do you get from to the beginning of the night? Yeah.
Oh, the beginning of the night. It's already said.
Right, but I mean, okay, I'll just ask in the. What was that?
I'm a little confused with the question.
Okay, so the question is he's trying to prove from the drush and the pasuk that you're chayav to do Sippur at the beginning of the night of the 15th of Nisan, right? And he's saying it's the time when you have matzah and mar resting in front of you. I think the way Rebbe asked this question on the Minyan and Seder tapes is he says, well, why can't I just put matzah and mar in front of me right now and talk about it then?
Oh, but it's when you're chayav.
Yeah, it's when you're chayav, right? So it's a weird structure of the chiyuv. It's not usually the Torah will say, like, for example, ulakachtem lechem bayom harishon. Right, so the day, the Kedushas Hayom is Mechayev you in Lulav. Here, it's a very convoluted thing. the Kedushas Hayom is mechayev you in eating matzah and maror and Pesach, and the matzah, the existence of Pesach matzah and maror is mechayev you in the Sippur at that time, like because you're talking about those items. Yeah.
So that means the Pesach Sheni would have the chiyuv too.
So it's a good question about which ones of these mitzvahs are which ones you have a chiyuv on in a Pesach Sheni and which ones you don't. Yeah, I don't think you do. You're chayav to eat matzah and you're chayav to eat matzah, but there's no chiyuv of Sippur. Right, but it does not imply though that you have to tell Sippur though, right? There's no pasuk for that.
It's not
or are you asking why the existence of Pesach Sheni doesn't create this hischayvus?
Sure, like I explain all as a collection. If you're maybe I premise it wrong, just to be clear first. Was I premise that you have to do matzah more on Pesach Sheni, correct? Or is that wrong?
You do have to do Pesach matzah and maror. It's not the same one though. It's a separate taryag. Yeah. Interesting question though. It is a separate. Yeah, I'll tell you if you want a question that's like that though, which I think I saw in the Kuntras, I think, which is okay when halachically, right? So in halachic terms, then it's not really matzah until you have the chiyuv, right? Okay, but
Well, is that all good?
yeah, from where?
Well,
What do you mean?
well, I mean that like pretty sure like the Rambam holds that like matzah during the year, like you don't wash in it or something. Maybe not the
But
Rambam.
that has to do with Ritva Bekius. That's not a halacha matzah. Yeah, that was not a bread pun. Yeah, but there is.
What about the carbon when we bring it's
I think-
the matzah over there? It's
No,
less
I
than-
think for that I would say the same thing that I said to Yosef, which is that the chiyuv of the shem matzah for be'erev tochlu matzos doesn't exist. You do have matzos in terms of like lechem matzah for like korbanos and stuff. Yeah, Yosef.
What do you mean by matzah doesn't exist outside?
Well, I'm using that because that's the lashon of the drasha. That if I take matzah and maror right now and put it in front of me, then that's not the time. It's the halachic entity of matzah and maror, which only comes into existence because you have the chiyuv. That's what I mean by it doesn't exist.
Wasn't only.
Yeah, I mean, lechem oni also. I don't think. I mean, the phenomenon of lechem oni exists. Am I not being clear?
No, I think I missed the question again.
The question is like this: if you ask the Torah Pad people, chazal as we call them, when do I do Sippur? What will they tell you?
When you have matzah mar.
When you have matzah mar in front of you. All right, so say when you have matzah mar in front of you, and what that means is when you have halachically matzah mar in front of you, the chiyuv, right? So that's only on the night of the 15th. The chiyuv, yeah.
I mean, the matzah are a secret. Meaning, like you're saying matzah, the matzah is only called matzah on Pesach.
Yeah,
They're representing things.
Right, that is true.
Not even eating it, I guess. But
Right.
That's representing something. So.
Yeah, no, that is, I think, part of why they set up the chiyuv, or why the Torah set up the chiyuv this way. But
Together.
right, yeah, I mean, it makes a more intrinsic relationship between the Sippur and the entities that you're being sabir about. But the question, and it's not the strongest question, but like Chazal midrabanan ushered you to eat matzah on erev Pesach,
Right.
right? So the question is, what is the halachic definition of that matzah? Like, how do they is the
The one that you're not allowed to eat on Pesach?
yeah.
What is that called?
Yeah, because it is an actual issur to eat matzah. Like, just how it's not a knockout question. It's a question of how they set up. Like, what is that entity of matzah that you're privileged to eat, but that doesn't trigger the chiyuv.
And form of matzah, whatever you want to call it, not call it. And when you went higher in the mitzvah, and you actually had a mitzvah on you.
I forgot about matzah ashira. Right.
I don't think that's underneath it.
So what
Right.
is the matzah that you consider the Seder?
Right, but that's not like a halachic definition, though, right?
Well,
That's just like a practical, yeah.
I think just gives you a quick first, this in my head, I always assume matzah. It's not really a Pesach food in that it's basically they have matzah all the time. It's just a style of bread they commonly make. There's not.
It's definitely easier to make.
What?
It's definitely easier to make.
Yeah, so therefore isn't like even this. So that like isn't. I was like, what's the question? Like, what? I don't think matzah they need to do matzah to have intent for Pesach. Like maybe if you're like maybe to be yotze the mitzvah for like a chila on like the first day, but I don't think that makes not matzah.
So that have kedusha.
It doesn't have before you. I got to do the first Yosef before the second Yosef. Sorry, what were you saying? Just jog my memory again.
That's like
You're saying it doesn't. It's not there. It doesn't exist. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like there's matzah. It's just like it's just all year round.
It is weird though. I mean, you gotta just maybe you can dismiss the question, but it is a little weird. As opposed to, the same lila that's Be'erev Tov Lamatos or something, like it puts in terms of the entities, which is a strange thing,
Yeah,
right. Yeah, I mean, I do think I'm sure there are going to be people who take up this question. We should just see if there's anything like that. I don't think this is a crazy line of questioning that I'm asking. No, right. Well, I also don't think so. Right. Definitely, you're talking about the entities that are in front of you, but it's not knock-it. Yeah, I don't think so either. Yeah, Joseph Levine, you're asking about kedusha.
Oh yeah, like I was wondering if maybe the state of it is that it's kaddish mitzvah, so therefore you say that from then on you say that unless it's for the mitzvah itself, then you can't use it. Like it would be like.
It needs to say that there's evidence of such a category of like it being designated for the mitzvah for this purposes. I'm not sure if that's a.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like it's really an isser on like the substance of matzah, right? So it doesn't make sense to say it's the object.
Yeah, that's the thing that's piquing my interest. It's stated in object terms. Yeah, Chaim, yours is no. Yeah, Joseph.
Actually, I don't think that I wanted to. I was trying to say, let's say I live in Balto. Like I can't get to Jerusalem in time for like Pesach-prep, just too far away from me to get to that.
Yeah.
Do I need to have, if it's that night, do I need to actually have the matzah mar in front of me? Like I don't have any chiyuv to have matzah mar.
Wait, you're talking for Pesach Sheni?
No, I'm talking. Let's be wrong. It's like let's say I'm in Babel, too far away to get to basement.
For Pesach Sheni, you're saying?
Pesach Rishon.
Oh, for Pesach Rishon. So then,
as in like getting to basement Rishon, no.
Right. But you still have a chiyuv of Sippur, Yetzias, Mitzrayim, and matzah, right? And matzah, yeah.
What about mar?
Maror midoraisa, you don't because they were masaking it. Yeah. We hold that maror is only doraisa with korban pesach, but it's derabanan without.
Okay, fine. So that case, you have to. So that case, I guess we have to have the maror for Sippur you see of Mitzrayim.
That is a weird question about why we bring in maror here, also, right? It doesn't say shashish. Pesach matzah maror.
Why not?
Yeah, or just matzah. I mean, yeah, but bavur zeh is in plain pshat is so that I can. I think hold on a second. Yud Gimel Ches. Hold on a second. There's a Rashi there. Here, we're gonna comment. If you have to go, you can go. Yeah. But here's what let's do. I want to finish reading the Sefer Mitzvos and then just do the minyan mitzvos and the koseres and then the first halacha, and I think that'd be a good place to stop for today. He got it bin Chabiyam Hu Lemor Ba'avur Zeh. So I think there's a Rashi in Ba'avur Zeh. Ba'avur She'ekayim mitzvos of Kagon Pesach Umata Umar Halalu, like this Pesach Matzah Mar, which is what we were referring to indirectly by talking about the Chag of Pesach. Yeah, the drasha leaves out Pesach. Yeah, I never noticed that before. All right, so that's a question. Yeah, not little. Yeah, I mean, if it's said matzah, I'd be fine. If it said Pesach matzah Mara, I'd be fine. Yeah. Okay. Let's finish reading the Sefer Mitzvos. From the fact that it says when your son will ask you, that's the next pasuk. Tes. No, it's in Devarim. Ki yishalcha bincha. when your son asks you, Yachol im yishalcha atamagilo. You might think that you only tell him if he asks you. Im lav, and if he doesn't ask you, in atamagilo, you don't tell him. Tamalomar v'higarta lebincha. So the pasuk says, no, you should tell your son. Afal pi shlosha alcha, even though he didn't ask you. Ainli ela b'zman sheyesh lo bein. How this only applies to when you have a son. Beinu levein asmo, beinu levein acher minayin. How do you know that you're chayiv in Sippur when you are by yourself or with other people? Tamalomar vayomer Moshe el ha'am zachor es hayom hazeh. Moshe says to the people, remember this day. Okay, yeah. In zachor es hayom hazeh asher Yetzias Mitzrayim. Yeah. Ukuvar. So okay, we'll ask the question in a second or in a little while. Ukuvar yadata lashonim afilu kulanu chachamim kulanu nevoim kulanu yodim es Torah mitzvah alinu l'saper b'yetzias Mitzrayim. We know what the Chazal say. Even if we are all wise, all understanding, all knowing the entire Torah, all knowing the Torah, it is a mitzvah upon us to tell the Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim. Okay. Ukuvar b'nisbar dina mitzvah b'sof pesachim. Okay, so that's the presentation in the Sefer Mitzvos. You got to remember also the stam question we ask in the Sefer Mitzvos is he says, I'm only going to tell you enough of the mitzvah so you know al derech perush hashem, what this mitzvah is, meaning like Kriyashma, he says it's mitzvah to read Kriyashma. Here, like he gives drushos and like some details. So it's always a question of like, how are all of these necessary to understand what the mitzvah, like he doesn't say other things. He doesn't say like, masil b'gnus umsayim b'shevach, or like, dorsh rami ovidavi.
I wonder about every single mitzvah he writes.
Yeah, I know, right. I think it's a question that you should ask on every single mitzvah he writes about. Okay. Exactly. Yeah. And I don't know if there's a one answer fits all thing. Okay. So the three more things that we're going to do with one-liners are the minyan and mitzvos. What was it? Yeah, minyan and mitzvos, which is going to be fairly straightforward. Even my computer is slowing down. Kuf nun zayin.
I feel like the meaning of mitzvahs is like more along the lines of like what he says the Sefer mitzvahs is going to be.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. L'saper b'yetzias Mitzrayim b'layla harishon shel chag hamatzos shnemar v'higarta l'bincha bayom ahu le'mor. Okay, so note that, right? So it's to tell of the Yetzias Mitzrayim on the first night of the chag hamatzos, as it is stated in quotes v'higarta l'bincha. Okay, then in the beginning in the koseres of Hilchos Chametz v'Matza, he says, "L'saper b'yetzias Mitzrayim ba'oso halayla." Okay, on that night, which is the nights of Pesach. Okay, and then in the first halacha, and this is where we get to our big questions. Yeah, on the nights, but it is strange that he says Lele Pesach, right?
Is that a Pesach thing?
I don't think so. I don't think so either, right? Because I don't know why that wouldn't be in the Doraisa, right? I think it's on like from year to year. It is strange. Yeah, that's another question. I mean, isn't there's a similar question on the opening Mishnah of 10th parak of Pesachim, arve Pesachim, right? Why do they say arve? Right, plural. Okay, and then here, so here's where we get our questions. First halacha, and that's the last thing we're going to do now. Mitzvah sasei Torah l'saper b'nisim b'niflaos shena'asu la'avosenu b'mitzrayim l'leil chamish asar b'nisan. It is a mitzvah sasei of the Torah to tell of the miracles and wonders that were done for our forefathers in Egypt on the night of the 15th of Nisan. Shenemar zachor es hayom hazeh asher Yetzias Mitzrayim. As it says, remember this day that you went out of Mitzrayim. Kama shenemar, as it is stated, zachor es yom hashabbos, right? You should remember the day of Shabbos. Uminayin shebelech chamisha asar. How do we know that it's on the 15th? Tamalomar, because the pasuk says, "V'higarta lebincha b'yom hahu lemor ba'avur zeh asa Hashem li b'tzeisi miMitzrayim v'shashi ish maso umor munachim lefenecha v'ava pish ein lo bein." Even though he doesn't have a son, afilu kulanu chachamim. Afilu chachamim gedolim chayavim l'saper b'yetzias Mitzrayim kol hamarich b'dvarim she'iru v'shahayu harizim mishubach. And the more a person goes on at length about things that happened and that were, then he's praiseworthy. So what are the problems or the questions here? Okay, so this one of the big questions is he swaps the psukim. Okay, in the Sefer Mitzvos, the main chiyuv is learned out from higarta lebincha, and the only thing we use zachoros and yomazeh for is if you're by yourself. Okay, but in the Sefer HaMitzvos, in the Mishneh Torah, he learns out the main chiyuv from zachoros and yomazeh. And then he says, "Higarta lebincha" just teaches you the zman, and then it also teaches you that you have to mitzvah to tell your son. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it brings out nowhere Nisan and flows.
Yes. Right. So in the he didn't even mention nisim v'niflaos in the Sefer Mitzvos at all. He just said in very descriptive terms what the Egyptians did to us in evil, how God took vengeance on our behalf from them, and the good that God did for us. But in the Sefer Mitzvah, I keep saying that, in the Mishneh Torah, he says nisim v'niflaos, which makes it sound like if you didn't talk about nisim v'niflaos, would you be yotzei? According to the Sefer Mitzvos, it sounds like you would, right? Or at least there's no.
I don't know what else you're talking about. If you're talking about
Well, look at, okay, he's going to model it for us. He says in the next one, he got a mitzvah l'hodia l'banim v'afilu l'shalu. Shneimar he got l'bincha l'fi daito shebein avi melamdo. According to the das of the kid, the father teaches him. Ketzad, how so? Im haya katan o tipesh. If your kid if your son is a kid or an idiot, omer lo b'ni. You say, my son, all of us were slaves like that, Shifcha or that Eved. And on this night, God redeemed us and went out to Cheres. I'm always astonished that we don't mention the miracles, right? If he's a young kid. But right, you tell him the miracles that what happened in Mitzrayim and the miracles that were done through Moshe Rabbeinu. So it sounds like in his modeling, in his example, you don't tell the little kid about the nisim, which is astonishing. Yeah, Yosef.
Maybe it's kind of like if you tell the little kid about nisim, we'll just miss the point. Think about the miracle.
That's what I was thinking also, but it does seem I agree with your intuition that it'd be weird to think that you could be yotzei without talking about the miracles. That's kind of a big deal. I know that's much more abstract than sea parting and like Marcos, yeah.
What does that mean? Don't talk about the miracles, like you don't talk about Marcos.
I mean, it's just to be clear, he doesn't say don't talk about it. It's just that in his example of telling the story for kids, he doesn't mention it, and in his example of telling it for the chacham, he davka says you talk about the miracles, you know. So it's a question in my mind. And then just one more other problem here, which is the classic question which we raised when we were talking about the Pshutas methodology. This comparison to Shabbos is entirely the Rambam's Chiddush. So why does he even need to mention that? You know, what is this comparison to Zachoras Yom HaShabbos? And then the other thing you notice, he also frames the night differently. In the Sefer Mitzvos, he says, the Tesvav B'Nisan. In the Hagdama to the Mishneh Torah, he says, on the first night of the Chag Hamatzos, and then here he says B'chamisha Aseh B'Nisan. So you know, just something to keep in mind.
In the first
yeah.
Like, you only talk about what happens on that night.
On that, I mean.
It's like
Oh, meaning. Yes, Oh, right. So I think I used to read it that way, but I think I found a raya that it's the question is he saying it's mitzvah to tell about quote the miracles that were done for us in Egypt on that night, end quote, or the miracles that were done for us in Egypt, end quote. And the mitzvah is to do it on that night. You know, is the B'chamisha Aseh B'Nisan qualifying when the mitzvah is, or is it qualifying which contents you talk about? So you're saying it's qualifying the contents you're talking about.
Yeah, I understand the contents because then he said in minyan and on the 15th.
But can't you read it the other way, that he's asserting that the mitzvah is on the 15th and now he's just supporting about where he got that from?
Okay.
Yeah, I think I have a raya though, but I can't remember. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think so. All right. This is good. I feel like Pesach coming around the corner now. All right. Yeah.
One thing I was thinking, trying to talk about other miracles, like it was like those. It's like, you know, like a sort of stupid line of